breathing quiet, sentiment, benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing. We practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Amoga. Vairocana Mahamudra. Mani Padme Jvala Pravartaya.
Please stand and join me in chanting of the refuges. We take refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, first in Sino-Korean and then in English. So please just throw your voice in, even though you may not know the words. You can consider it a sound practice. Shi Shi Wim Yong Shi Hong Sam Se Che Ma Cha Sam Chu Il Che Hu Tai Shi Shi Wim Yong Shi Wan Sam Se Che Ma Cha Sam Chu Il Che Dhammaya Shi Shi Wim Yong Shi Wan Sam Se Che Ma Cha Sam Chu Il Che Sangaya I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha,
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
And realize the great way.
and realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma,
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha,
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many,
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please return now to your places for a shorter period of meditation. taking good care of your posture as we begin to sit. It's helpful to straighten the back by leaning forward on the hands. Bring the arms up, palms facing. Turn the palms out. Slowly lower them. And then place your hands in a mudra. Please join me in some stretching. Remembering to breathe as we do these stretches, working with our lower back at the moment. Nice long stretch. And then forward as far as you can. Final twist to the left. And then to the right. Some nice big circles of the upper body. Reverse. Please sit comfortably. Good morning, all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Good morning. Nice to see the sunshine today. Hey? So today, our Dharma discussion, our Dharma talk will be about blame. So this has been coming up a lot lately. It came up in the Dhammapada reading this week. We do Dhammapada reading every morning at breakfast. It came up in our Way of the Bodhisattva group. And then as I began to think about this, I realized it comes up in everyday life. So let's start with what the Dhammapada has to say. Listen, Atula, this is not new. There's an old saying, they blame you for being silent. They blame you when you talk too much and when you talk too little. Whatever you do, they blame you. The world always finds a way to praise and a way to blame. It always has, and it always will. But who dares blame the one whom the wise continually praise, whose life is virtuous and wise, who shines like a coin of pure gold? So this is from chapter 17 of the Dhammapada, on the title of the chapter being anger. So the world always finds a way to praise and a way to blame. It always has and it always will. This refers to the 8 winds. So the Buddha asks his disciples to skillfully respond to these conditions that come up in our lives. And they come in pairs. So the 8 winds are gain and loss, success and failure, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. And you notice that they're bipolar, but they're polar opposites. And if you think about a wind can constantly shift directions. And so when we're dealing with blame, the wind shifts and we're dealing with praise and so on and so forth. But the point is to try to not get so caught up in either and to try to do our practice well so that we can deal with these conditions in life when they come up. So as I said this week, focusing on blame in the Way of the Bodhisattva group, Shantideva, who is the author of that scripture, he's a very, very ancient scholar who wrote, who gave this lecture to an audience of monks. And so blame came up in the context of anger, because we're looking at the chapter again on anger, and it's also titled Patience. So part of patience is to be able to bear and forbear the wrongs of others. So I'll be sharing some more reflections from Shantideva as we go on. But let's just start with some examples of blame. Some that came up this week. The person who was assigned to cook breakfast forgot it was their day to cook. And so we came into the kitchen and the kitchen was empty and no breakfast was ready, which can be problematic because people have pretty tight schedules. So that's an opportunity for blame. We could have reamed that person out, but the response, hopefully we have learned something from being Buddhists. So the response was just to jump in and do it. Everybody helped out. It was not a problem. Other examples are chickens. One of them has a red bottom in need of a dust bath. Again, we take turns taking care of the chickens. And so the question comes up, who didn't let those chickens out for their dust bath? How come this one got sick? Sometimes we run out of toilet paper and I'm the one who's supposed to remember to have toilet paper. So some blame comes my way. Trash bins are not brought in. The car was out of gas and now the people are late for the meeting. All these kinds of everyday little annoyances arise related to blame. And then unskillful speech. How could you say that to me is a form of giving and receiving blame. Some of us have deeper sense of blame in our lives. Maybe blaming parents for the way they treated us when we were children, and thinking that we're stuck because of that. And then you started this argument, not me. And so we get into a shoving match. I shove you, you shove me. All of these examples. So here are some observations that came to me about blame. The first one is it's about suffering. Often it's associated with the suffering of anger. Oftentimes it has to do with fear or unpleasantness. The fear may be the deeper sort of underlying manifestation of anger as a manifestation often of fear. So when a person receives a bad medical diagnosis, the response may be anger, but underlying that is a lot of fear because we're physically threatened. So it's about suffering. Second observation, it's almost always associated with a story. So for example, every week at the temple, we have one person responsible for putting out the schedule of who's doing what assignment. And we convey to that person, well, I'll be gone this day or that day, or I can't do it because I have a conflict. Can you put somebody else in that slot? And the scheduler does not always hear these things. And so it's easy then to create sort of a story about that. Consistently, this person has ignored what I've said to them. They must like me. I just must be on their shit list, and that's why I keep getting these assignments. So always there's some sort of story that comes up. Third point, it involves search for some kind of cause. I think this gets back to the fear thing. The disease is so frightening. So I search for a cause. Well, maybe it was my diet. My diet caused this disease. And if I just change my diet, then things will be better. Oftentimes, this comes up in reflection to our own upbringing. We search for the cause, maybe of our unskillful speech, and we say, oh, I see, my parent taught me that. So it's going back and looking for a cause. It includes judgments. Maybe I have a judgment like people who wear those red hats are the ones who are behind this. And so whatever is going on in our country, it's I'm judging those people who wear red hats as maybe the cause of this. Involves regret, and oftentimes it involves this blame is associated with kind of a victim mentality, which can be very disempowering. Climate change is kind of a big one, an abstract one. And, I've heard it said that everybody over 30 is the cause of climate change. And now we're all victims of it and we can't do anything about it. And so the blame goes there to all adults over 30. We're victims of our own past karma, our family histories. And then last observation, it seems to involve a narrowing of perspective. And so I find myself putting people into categories and not thinking about them, more globally, and not thinking about them as being beyond this particular situation. So maybe I'm uncomfortable with the behavior in this situation. I need to get beyond, well, this person is like this, but rather think of, well, in the next moment, I may get a different behavior. Each moment is new, and people are not fixed and unchanging. So how do we work with blame? That's the question for us as Buddhists. Skillful ways of working with blame are maybe to try to head it off, to see the broader perspective. The example I gave of let's all cook breakfast together. That's a skillful way of handling blame. An unskillful way would have been to yell at the cook, the person who was supposed to cook the meal. Another way of working with blame is to turn to our practice. Let's say that we feel that we've been the recipient of unfair criticism, that the blame is coming to us. And what we learn in our meditation practice, the more we do it, we're able to sit with a little bit of discomfort and just bear it for a little bit until it sort of softens and we can get a bigger perspective. So our meditation practice in and of itself can help us. Another skill is to try to name the source of the blame. And this is interesting, and this is where we get into some of the advice from Shantideva in Way of the Bodhisattva. So the example he gives is somebody being struck with a stick. And he says, although indeed it is the stick that hurts me, I am angry with the one who wields it, striking me. But he is driven and impelled by anger. So it's his wrath that I should resent. So in this example, does it make sense for you to be angry at the stick? The blows were inflicted by a person, but does it make sense to be angry at that person? The person is driven by all their life circumstances, all their karma, the three poisons, greed, anger, delusion. So the deeper we dig, we can maybe name the source. We can name the source as, oh, this is wrath, or this is anger, something that we all deal with. And how does that change things? So when I look at it that way, I'm no longer so angry with the person wielding the stick, but rather I'm looking at that as there's a person who's in need of help as well, a confused person. So a third skill is to ask ourselves, how am I participating in this situation of blame that's coming up? Again, Shantideva offers an example of still going on with the sticks again. Their weapons and my body, both are causes of my suffering. Their weapons drew while I held out my body. Who then is more worthy of my anger? So let's ask ourselves, how am I participating as a victim? We had an interesting discussion at our Way of the Bodhisattva group this week. And one example that was offered was an adult child coming to this parent, really in need of money. Instead of a direct request for money, it comes out as, oh, let me come over and help you with things going on around the house. And let me bring your little granddaughter over for you to play with. And then, so these are kind of little emotional hooks. And then after these occur, oh, and by the way, I need some money. Can you give me some money? And as she examined the amount of money going out, just realizing that how much she had been drawn in by those emotional hooks and becoming a victim. So to empower herself again, it was, well, I'm going to find somebody else to take care of things around the house, so that that's no longer a hook for the money. So whenever we find ourselves being victims, it's helpful to look at how is it that I can change, how is it I can not be a victim or to empower myself. So one of the teachers whose information I read, Christine Rodriguez, said, when you blame, you give up your power to change. I thought that's a very interesting thing to remember. So fourth skill, take care of your side of the street. Again, from Shantideva. If there's a remedy when trouble strikes, what reason is there for despondency? If there's no help for it, what use is there in being sad? So we just have to take care of our own side of the street. Is there a remedy when the trouble strikes? Well, just take the remedy is one way that we can do that. And then as a giver of blame, we need to be aware of right speech. I find myself a giver of blame a lot, more than I would like. And partly because in the role of the teacher, it's part of my job to correct people, but the correction should not come with a sense of blame. That just gets into a vicious kind of cycle. So the Buddha has something to say about this. And he doesn't speak in terms of blame, he rather calls it dispraise, which may be criticism. So he says to his monks, investigate and scrutinize before speaking praise or dispraise. So just make sure, check in with yourself as to what you're seeing is accurate, and whether it's going to be truthful. So if you've determined if it's accurate and truthful, then ask 5 questions. Is it the proper time? Can you speak truthfully and not falsely, so without clouding this with other stuff? Can you speak gently but not harshly? Can you speak in a beneficial way, not a harmful way? And can you speak with a mind of loving kindness while not harboring resentment or hatred? So it's about working with ourselves, getting ourselves in the right position to engage in this skillful speech. Just a few more thoughts about getting beyond blame, because hopefully that's what we do. So when you are able to release that blame, it frees up a whole lot of energy. If you think about that, how much energy do we put into stories that we're creating? And we can create them again and again and again. Just like all of the story, it frees up a lot of energy. Again, we can ask ourselves, what do I need to learn from this situation? How did I contribute to it? And then finally, working on broadening your perspective. I read somewhere that Thich Nhat Hanh actually views this practice of patience as a practice of inclusivity. And so you include everything that comes your way and not just being picking and choosing, being selective. Remembering people are not one-dimensional. They're not good and bad. That we move from state to state all the time. And sometimes we give joy, sometimes we cause pain. And this inclusivity is aimed at increasing our capacity really to admit things, to absorb things, to transform things, whatever pleasant or unpleasant experiences we may encounter. So I left some time so we could have a little dialogue. I think we're going to do this though as a big group today. We're, I think, becoming more comfortable with each other, sharing stories, sharing information. So I'd like to ask, reflect on your own life just this past week, or maybe the past day. What example of blame has come up for you, and how did you work with that blame? So we'll pass the microphone around.
My father-in-law is in a retirement home, and my wife and her brother are the ones that told him he needed to go to the retirement home and put him there. And he is he's resisting the loss of his individualism and to be able to do things on his own. And then they were taking care of his affairs, and my wife said, "Oh, would you like to have his car? Because I know that your car, my car, is 13 years old, and we're just going to sell it otherwise. So would you like to have his car?" And I thought about it. And I said, "Yeah, sure." But that was a year ago, and I have not taken possession of the car yet, because I don't want to be blamed by him as the one who took his car away. So I'm working with that.
I feel very bad in accepting something that I'm very good at blaming others, especially when it comes to my wife. I'm very good at taking the responsibility when I'm at work. So that is one thing I'm trying to change. One example from this morning, not even yesterday, is we have a round dining table and 4 chairs. So every time I get up, I try to push chairs inside for everyone. And I blame my wife that you do not do it. But at the same time, the moment I did that, I remembered the discussion from last week when the person sitting over there said that, consider this is your dish. So that is how I'm trying to deal with the blame.
I thought of one thing, it's more like internally directed blame. Like I did something dumb at work, like really blatantly dumb. And, you know, I think how convenient it would be is I could keep everything perfect all the time, but I know I can't. And one thing from last week's service, we were talking about kind of like sitting with your imperfections. I think it was about telling lies or not, and then you become comfortable with the fact that you sometimes lie, and then you can change yourself better. So I took that spirit and I was thinking, okay, just get used to not being perfect and kind of ride it out like with our meditative practice.
This is a topic that has been coming up for me quite a bit recently. I think for me, doesn't seem to be working. I think for me, blame has a lot to do with me internally and my state of internal being. For me, when I want to put blame to someone else, it's usually because I'm discontent with something within me. Going along with that feeling of not being perfect and wanting to control and not being able to let go and just allow what is to just be. And I struggle with that. I'm a manager, a kitchen manager, so I have a lot of balls in the air all the time. And part of my job is to help manage and keep all the balls moving together harmoniously. And it doesn't work out that way a lot of times. And I'm a perfectionist, and that's something that I've been working on trying to come to terms with and let go of what I can in order to live a life that reflects my truth of wanting inner peace. Blame internally is because I can't forgive myself for things. And self-forgiveness is an area where I struggle to understand that I'm not perfect and I'm never going to be perfect. And I actually don't want to be perfect. But I read a quote recently that talked about forgiveness is like setting a prisoner free, only to find out the prisoner is you. And that was very profound for me. And I realized that when I can let go of that, I'm really just letting myself free. I have a partner who I really, really love and a mother-in-law who is really, really challenging. And just this last week, my partner and I had a disagreement, and I said something like, that's exactly your mother talking. And I realized that I had a real reluctance and aversion to putting blame on the person I love. And it's a lot easier to blame the person who I'm already inclined to blame, even though it was a thing that my partner had said, of his own volition. I was sort of taking away his role in this conflict and his agency by
bringing it back around to his mom. And I'm still sort of caught in, I think, kind of a Mobius strip of blame, because then like, well, blaming myself for blaming his mother for blaming her of what he said. So it's a cycle that I'm still trying to figure out how to exit from. So I appreciate the wisdom in this Dharma talk today.
So thank you very much for sharing your examples. Next week, we get to talk about praise. So we'll see where that one goes. Let's just leave it there. We'll end with the 4 great vows and have some announcements. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate. Dharma gates, one mind, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Ann Arbor Zen Buddha Temple, especially if you're here for the first time. Just as a reminder, the 4 p.m. service is only being offered on the 1st and 3rd Sundays of the month. I don't know what number Sunday we're on right now. 4th, okay, so no 4 p.m. service today. Likewise, we have a family service on the 2nd Sunday of every month. So if you have any kids in your life that you think would appreciate learning about Buddhism while doing some fun arts and crafts, it's always a really fun time, 2nd Sunday of each month. Coming up, we have the Spring Yongmeng Zhengjin, which is April 5th through 9th here at the Ann Arbor Temple. There's also one at the end of April in our sister temple in Toronto. But that is an opportunity to really deepen your practice over a period of several days of intensive meditation and work practice. You can come for one day, you can come for the whole time. There are sign-up sheets out in the hallway. We'll be having an introductory meditation course, which are Thursday evenings, 6:30 to 8:30. The next session begins April 27th. We have yoga classes Tuesday evenings, which are ongoing. There are sign-up sheets for everything that I'm talking about. And if you really want to stay abreast of what's going on at the temple, you can sign up for our email news bulletin. There's also a sign-up sheet for that. For the precepts group, are we still, is that still open for people who are interested? So taking your precepts is sort of a way of formally declaring that you are a Buddhist. So talk to anyone who's wearing the robes if you would like more information about that. That study session begins March 30th, so it's coming up. Let me see, we have Recovery Dharma today, yes?
Yes, we will meet at noon in the old temple next door, up the steps through the front door in the library. And we also have a Thursday evening meeting, and the link is available at the temple's website.
Thank you. Hachi has something.
I've got my gardening gloves because it's nice out and there's some preparation of an area so we can plant sunflowers. And so it'll be from about 10 minutes from when we leave for 15 minutes. So if we get a few people, we've got about 22 shovels. We can get this bed ready. So please, there's a shed in the back that has a bell hanging from it. We call it the bell shed. And that's where we'll get gloves and shovels and return them after. So if you're interested to help with that on this beautiful day, I'll meet you there.
Thank you, Haju. And on that note, actually, there is also a sign-up sheet for garden practice, which is a nice way of really seeing a real-world implementation of Together Action, and that will be going on all through the summer. Lastly, the temple is supported by your kind donations of time and money. Haju just gave a great pitch for a way to donate your time. There is a fishbowl outside also for monetary donations. Ma'un has something.
So this is the last Sunday where we will be wearing, where masks will be required. So beginning next week, masks are optional. If you're feeling sick, please just be respectful of those who are more vulnerable and wear a mask. But otherwise, we're moving on. Finally.
Indeed, we do, as you can see, we have a setup to live stream. So if you are feeling sick, that is also an option. I don't think I have anything else. Did I miss anything? Okay.
So after we do our formal bows, we would like to pick up this room in preparation for the next event. So the mats and cushions touching the carpet remain where they are. And those that are in the outer rows for this side of the room, they get stacked on the stage. And for this side of the room in the far corner is where the mats go. And on the shelves is where the round cushions go. Thank you. Okay, so facing the altar. So, did you get my email? About the